everyone, my name is Kaseem. Welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, you're welcome. If you're not new, you're welcome back. Like I always say, I appreciate all of you guys that come back and check out these videos. You're in part helping build a community here on this YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So in today's video, we are going to go over the B word. So what I did was I've cut all the clips of Cathie Wood. So we're gonna look over Cathie Wood's what she said on the B word. I think it was a pretty insightful conference for Bitcoin. So, and she's basically a tech investor. I invest in a fund because I like what they're about. So we are going to go over all the stuff that she said in the B word. I also did one with Elon Musk. I did that previously. So now I'm doing Cathie Wood's one. Coming up is going to be Jack Dorsey's one as well after this one. So stay tuned for that. Before we start the video, if you like what you see on this channel, go and check out some of the videos that I've produced on this channel. Go and check it out. If you like it, consider subscribing to the channel. It greatly helps me out. Appreciate it. So without taking too long, let's dive right into today's video.
The first is Cathie Wood, founder, CEO, and CIO of Ark Invest. Next is Elon Musk, techno king of Tesla and chief engineer of SpaceX.
Yes, sir.
And finally, Jack Dorsey, CEO of Square and CEO of Twitter.
Okay, Steve, thank you. Well, the first thing was our focus on disruptive innovation. So starting in 2011, Brett Winton, our director of research, who I know will be on the program later, he started talking about this thing called Bitcoin at the time. And it was a curiosity as we were doing our brainstorms in research. But as we learned more about this open source ecosystem, that might fulfill the role of the payment system that the internet neglected to build.
That is a very important point that she just made there. Okay, that's an important point because the internet never had a native money like that just exists on the internet. And I always trying to point out to you guys that so many people in the world are not online yet. So if you and I that were watching this video, we know about these things, we're still relatively early when it comes to the groundwork, when it comes to investing or anything like that, when it comes to cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're still in the ground level right now.
Into the system, not expecting commerce. We thought, this might be something. And then I became even more interested when I realized that my economics would come into play as well here. And Art Laffer, my mentor from USC, and a monetary scholar, in 2014, I asked him if he would collaborate on a paper on Bitcoin. And he was a bit of a naysayer at first, but agreed to read the paper. He read the paper, tore it up, and from an economics point of view, really wanted to understand this. And he said, I think you got something here.
So the points that she just made there was, okay, so we're brainstorming ideas of, what to do, what's the next investment, what's the next thing out there when it comes to what we do, which is disruptive innovation. That's Cathie Wood's company, Ark Invest. That's what they do. They're trying to keep an eye on what's the next big deal, what's the next big thing when it comes to technology and all these things. So she said one of the director of research, Brenton Wood, whatever she called his name, he told her about Bitcoin. And basically she read about it, fell in love with it, took the idea to her mentor, which he's an economist. He read it, fell in love with it, got excited about it, and she was like, I think we have something here. So that's what she's trying to say in that section.
This is a rules-based monetary system. I've been waiting for this for my entire career. So the combination of disruptive innovation generally economics on top of that, and the huge misunderstanding out there as to what this is, that was intriguing and launched our research effort.
Great. A hallmark of Bitcoin is its fixed supply of 21 million coins. Elon referenced that earlier. It may be the first system that humans have created that humans cannot later change. Cathie, I'm curious, with your background in monetary history and macroeconomics, what are your thoughts on that type of system?
Oh, well, I'll recount the story about Art Laffer and our going through the paper. And he said, as I said, first rules-based monetary system, global, ever. This is a very big idea. Once we had convinced him of the ecosystem itself. Now, this is the role that it's playing, given that the rule is a quantity rule, that 21 million units, is really a store of value role. So there are three roles of money.
So listen to this section closely, okay? This section is very important. She breaks down what's the whole point of money, what's the role of money, you know? And this applied to pretty much everything: dollar, yuan, pounds, euro, you know, naira. It applies to everything. So listen closely.
Store of value, very important.
Store of value. So that means if you put your money into this thing, or you get paid through this thing, which we call money. Is it going to store its value? Is it going to still be able to purchase the same amount of things or even more later on in the future? That's the first point.
Of exchange.
The second point is means of exchange. So, you know, is it easily usable to buy goods and services?
So for transactions, and the unit of account. Every good priced in terms of whatever the unit is.
Units of account, you know.
So store of value is its primary use right now. The others exist. Unit of account, reserve currency of the crypto asset ecosystem. That's true. Being seeded a little bit towards stable coins right now. But the store of value is a very big role. And means of exchange with apps built on top of the Bitcoin blockchain, we think is going to become more of a reality. Right now, high value transactions take place over Bitcoin, and that is a very useful role. So we look at those, and I remember saying to Art, "How big could this be?" And he said, "Well, how big is the U.S. monetary base?" Well, today it's $8 trillion. $8 trillion. At the time we were talking, it was $4 trillion.
I think the whole entire cryptocurrency market is like 1 trillion or 1 point something trillion. So, you know, see the amount of growth could potentially still happen for Bitcoin.
So we've gone through another crisis since then. And so the store of value, this idea that purchasing power will go up over time if demand rises relative to supply.
Hope you guys get that. Like basically what she's trying to say is you put your money in Bitcoin, as long as demand rises for Bitcoin or this different cryptocurrency, as long as demand rise over time, the store of value, the store of value, the value of that coins should go up over time.
Ultimately fixed at 21 million units. That's a very good thing. Purchasing power going up globally around the world. And this idea that it's a hedge against confiscation of wealth. And that can take place in a myriad of ways. But inflation, and especially hyperinflation in emerging markets, is the primary way. Talk about destroying purchasing power. So that's a very big idea. And I'll also mention deflation. In some ways, it's a hedge against deflation. I know some people are confused that we at Ark think that we're in a deflationary environment here in the United States. If that is true, the odds of a hyperinflation in the rest of the world, especially in emerging markets, is also true. So, but this, okay, Steve, thank you. Well, the first thing was our focus on disruptive innovation. So starting in 2011, Brett Winton, our director of research, who I know will be on the program later, he started talking about this thing called Bitcoin at the time. And it was a curiosity as we were doing our brainstorms in research. But as we learned more about this open source ecosystem, that might fulfill the role of the payment system that the internet neglected to build.
That is a very important point that she just made there. Okay, that's an important point because the internet never had a native money like that just exists on the internet. And I always trying to point out to you guys that so many people in the world are not online yet. So if you and I that were watching this video, we know about these things, we're still relatively early when it comes to the groundwork, when it comes to investing or anything like that, when it comes to cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're still in the ground level right now.
Into the system, not expecting commerce. We thought, this might be something. And then I became even more interested when I realized that my economics would come into play as well here. And Art Laffer, my mentor from USC, and a monetary scholar, in 2014, I asked him if he would collaborate on a paper on Bitcoin. And he was a bit of a naysayer at first, but agreed to read the paper. He read the paper, tore it up, and from an economics point of view, really wanted to understand this. And he said, I think you got something here.
So the points that she just made there was, okay, so we're brainstorming ideas of, what to do.
Deflation, and we learned from 0809, there's counterparty risk associated with deflation. And I think Bitcoin would be a hedge against that eventuality as well. So it's a very big idea.
Look, I keep an eye on Bitcoin. I've made a couple of videos about Bitcoin, the platform that I use. I'll put that in the card so you can check it out. Like, I know Bitcoin over time will be worth a lot of money. So we don't know how much it will be. Like Chamath said one time, Bitcoin, the story with Bitcoin is either a zero or millions per coin. So, the potential upside is quite high.
That's great to hear. I would agree with that. Cathie?
Yeah, may I ask a question? Elon, I'm not quite...
So this is the next section here, all right?
Sure if you saw the paper that Square and Ark did together on making Bitcoin mining a part of a utility, a broad-based utility ecosystem, whereby, the overage from sunshine or wind powers the.
Basically, now they're talking about how they can make the mining of Bitcoin a little bit more climate friendly, if I may say.
Bitcoin mining machine, thereby enabling the proliferation of renewables to a much faster extent or at a faster rate than otherwise would be the case. What do you think of that?
Well, the problem is that in order to operate so-called mining or hashing rigs, in order to operate a bunch of hashing rigs, effectively, you have to run them 24/7. Yeah. Which means you need base load. You can do that with solar and wind plus battery, but if you only did it based on solar wind overage, your hashing rig utilization would be much less. So you'd be at a disadvantage.
Sure,
hydro or geothermal are great for as renewable means. I'm also pro nuclear. I think modern nuclear power plants are safe, contrary to what people may think. I really think it's possible to make very, very extremely safe nuclear. I'm talking about fission. You don't need fusion. And then, of course, fusion. You just got that big fusion reactor in the sky called the sun. It comes up every day. But I think a combination of solar and wind plus stationary storage will get you that base load, so you can run hashing 24/7.
Cathie, we've been talking a lot about energy, but many institutions are facing questions around Bitcoin's relationship with ESG. Can you maybe speak a little bit more to what is S and G in ESG and how Bitcoin might support those?
Sure. So E, of course, is environmental, S is social, and G is governance. And there is a massive...
ESG investing is starting to be like a big thing for the past like 2 or 3 years. So it will be interesting to hear what she has to say about it.
Movement afoot in the institutional world, especially, to embrace ESG and make sure that their asset managers are doing the same. So if we've just talked about environmental, and I really do believe that Bitcoin will be much more environmentally friendly, certainly than traditional gold mining or the traditional financial services sector. In many ways, it already is. And it's just going to get better that way. In terms of social, I know that many institutions, when they are thinking of social, they think of diversity and equity, pay equity, and all of that. But if from our point of view, the disruptive innovation point of view, social is much more than that. It is saving lives, of course, autonomous technology, that would be another topic for Elon. But in this case, allowing access to payment technology, as Jack is saying, everywhere around the world without friction. And just back to the remittance example, I think if I've got these stats correctly, there are certain countries in the world that are incredibly dependent on remittances for GDP. To Tonga, 37%, El Salvador, which just deemed Bitcoin legal currencies 24%, Nepal 24%, and I think the remittance industry globally roughly $700 billion.
That is almost $1 trillion, $750 billion globally. That a couple of companies is like a couple of companies dominated for years, like World Remains and all these other companies are like relatively new with apps and everything like that, and they just only serve a few part of the world. But you have Western Union, MoneyGram that have been doing this for years. A $7.75 trillion industry that only a few companies has been basically in charge of. Okay, Bitcoin is probably going to disrupt that.
So saving people these egregious fees, think about it, you're paying.
Yep, that is true. I know about that firsthand. You pay so much money in fees when you send money abroad. It's crazy.
Anywhere from 8% to, as Jack said, 30% of your $100 that you're sending back to your family. That is a social responsibility, I would submit, as is just the economic empowerment that Bitcoin will enable. We've talked about that already. And I know that Alex Gladstein is going to be talking later about, the 4.3 billion people in the world who are hostage to authoritarian regimes, or the 1.3 billion who are living in double-digit and triple-digit inflation, if not more. Saving them from the destruction of their purchasing power certainly is a noble social goal. So definitely. We expand social to be much more than the traditional ESG community. And then on governance, You've got the transparency of the ecosystem. It's completely transparent, unlike the opaqueness of financial systems.
Everything is available to see on the blockchain. You get someone's Bitcoin address or whatever wallet address, you can see all the transaction. So.
And the toll takers in the traditional financial world. And I think a huge part of governance in the Bitcoin ecosystem are the Bitcoin core developers. Yep. Now, before
these people are like smart people, people that are developing Bitcoin, they're like really smart people. These are people that have knowledge in so many fields: economics, politics, technology, programming. These are extremely smart people.
Before I met them, and I've had the pleasure and the honor of meeting many of them, that was a part of this ecosystem I didn't understand. But actually getting to sit down and talk to them, if I have a learning curve need, it certainly is on the technology side. But in terms of talking to them about economics, economic theory, failed monetary regimes historically, they know economic history, many of them, better than anyone I've ever met. Mm-hmm. So that gives me a great degree of confidence that, they do believe they are on a noble mission. They could be paid a lot more than they're being paid right now if they worked at Google or Facebook or some of these.
For sure. She's talking about the developers, people that make all these things work. Bitcoin, Ethereum, people that make it work.
To other areas, but they've chosen, this sense of purpose for a noble goal, and they have incredibly strong technology backgrounds. So as well as a good understanding of economic history, especially monetary history, and it gives me a great deal of comfort as I think about the governance of the ecosystem, much more so than I think we would find in other financial ecosystems. And just to give you an example of that, I think 2 years, we were talking about, there's a big debate about reorganizations, I know, in the Ethereum network right now. Well, we saw the core Bitcoin developers and others at work back in 2019 when Binance tried to reorganize in order to reclaim 7,000 Bitcoin that were hacked. And they just wouldn't allow it. So we've already had some very good tests of the Bitcoin ecosystem, including developers. So that would be my answer.
So Tesla and Square have both.
So we're moving on to the next part now.
Put Bitcoin on the balance sheet.
Okay, so it sounds like corporate usage of Bitcoin. So basically companies that are public companies putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet, basically using Bitcoin as a store of value. Okay.
Cathie, I'm curious to hear from you. What advice would you have for other institutions looking to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet?
Well, I guess the first piece of advice is, just make sure, and I actually learned this after both Square and Tesla put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. The Bitcoin is being treated as an intangible asset. And so we need to get FASB to reconsider this, because with an intangible asset, if the asset goes up in price, it can't be marked up on their books. But if it goes down, it must be marked down. So, there's some asymmetry there, which is, we need to change that given what we believe Bitcoin is. And I do believe if, I'll harken back to something, well, it was either Elon or Jack said, think about it. You take away the boundaries, the different currencies. Just think about how explosive growth could be, and how wide-reaching taking the friction out of the system could be. So
exactly, like the next person that would make so much money with Bitcoin would be the person that makes it so easy for absolutely everybody in the world to be able to use this in a frictionless way. It's just smooth to use. It's as simple as going on the website, downloading an app, something that just very simple to use. That would be the next person that will make so much money with Bitcoin.
I would encourage corporations to think about that this ability to do business anywhere in the world, ultimately, obviously, we're paving the way here. That's certainly a consideration. It also will serve as a hedge against inflation, especially, and as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of emerging markets that are suffering from significant inflation. In other words, the purchasing power of those populations is going down. So they are going to migrate to Bitcoin and other ways to preserve purchasing power. And again, being able to sell to them in that kind of currency would be very useful. I'd also suggest, once again, this idea of deflation, I think, is going to be a real thing. There's going to be good deflation caused by innovation, so demand will boom because of that. There's going to be bad deflation because so many companies out there have not been investing enough in innovation. Their products are going to go obsolete, as you know, and they're going to be stuck trying to service the debt that they piled on because their shareholders wanted profits and wanted them now. So they leveraged up to buy back their shares and pay dividends, and they
never a good idea. You shouldn't borrow money just to buy your own stock. As an individual too, you shouldn't borrow money just to buy stocks. Okay, it's not a good idea.
So I think that's going to be the source of bad deflation and counterparty risk. And we learned from 0809 that counterparty risk can be devastating, almost cataclysmic. So a hedge against that as well, I think, would be another reason to do it.
Great.
Yeah, it's funny. It kind of like Tesla's bank balances in Europe have negative interest rate. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, if you've got like 2% inflation on 1% interest, you're technically minus 1% return. But nonetheless, it is quite annoying to just see your bank balance drop in real time in Europe. Europe has negative interest rates. This is insane.
Paying the banks, paying the banks to hold
the bank to keep your money. I'm like, what?
It is crazy.
That's what's going on right now in Europe. The reality in Europe is, if you're a saver and you're saving money in Europe, you're paying the bank to keep your money, and the bank will turn around and use your money to make more money. So Elon is quite concerned about that, and rightfully so.
Definitely move that.
So Bitcoin, it's definitely a good idea for situations like that. Money that you're not using right now, maybe you're gonna use in the future. Keep it in Bitcoin. Over time, Bitcoin will become very stable. And I've seen all the ups and downs with Bitcoin. In 2016, 2017, it went from 16,000 all the way down to like 3,000, and then it rebounded and went back up again to like 60,000, then came down to 30, and now it's on the way back up. Like, this volatility is quite high, but if you're willing to stick it out, I think over time, the investors in Bitcoin will be greatly rewarded. That is for sure.
Bitcoin.
I believe Ray Dalio said, buy Bitcoin and not bonds. So
there you go.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's wrap things up with a final question for each of you. I guess what is your hope for Bitcoin? How it can impact the world? Let's see, Elon, do you want to start with that? So what's your hope? What's your hope for Bitcoin? Cathie?
Because this is a Cathie Wood thing, I had to just get her response. I already did Elon's one already, so you can go and watch Elon's one. I'm doing Cathie's one now, so I had to cut to that. And coming up in maybe a couple of days or a week or so, you're gonna get my reaction to Jack Dorsey's one. So, yeah. Yeah,
and I would segue from what Elon just said is, money has powerful network effect qualities. And so, we talked about ESG earlier. I think that, of course, that aspiration, having, this money be the best from an ESG point of view, that's really talking about solving some of the world's problems right now, which we definitely want to do. But I also am very excited about this idea of network effect and the convergence of blockchain technology and artificial intelligence from a technology point of view. I think, think about the internet in the earliest days. We couldn't imagine what was going to happen, but the impetus to growth was pretty incredible. So I am looking at this rules-based monetary policy, making for better lives around the world, as we've just said. But I'm also looking at the technology itself and the convergence between blockchain technology and artificial intelligence, to change the world in ways that we cannot imagine right now, solving even more problems, but creating more opportunities as well, which is the history of technology and disruptive innovation.
Definitely, man. This has been a nice interview. Cathie Wood she always bring it. I really love learning from her, and hearing what she has to talk about. Of course, I'm subscribed to Ark Invest YouTube. I have on Twitter. I'm always very curious to know what these smart people in the world, when it comes to finance and technology, what they have to say. Because as us, investors, we should keep an eye on people that are doing, that this is their job. Like Cathie Wood, her whole company is based on researching what's the next big thing, investing in it early, and hoping to gain so much value. She did that with Tesla. She's doing that with so many things, autonomous, genomics. So I always look forward to hearing from her. So if you like this video, if you like what you've seen, if you like what you've heard from me, if you like my reaction, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm interested in different things when it comes to finance. For the most part, I try to make content about making money, and at the same time, I try to make content about some of the people that I listen to, that I watch, that I follow, to bring more value to you guys, so you can see, oh, this is the person that he listened to. Maybe I can go follow them. So I would recommend you go follow these people on Twitter, on YouTube, and all that stuff. So the full link to the B word, which is this live stream, this video, the full link will be in the description below. I have everything there. Go check it out. So yeah, that is pretty much it for today's reaction. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you for that. If you like what I do here, consider subscribing. Check out the channel, like I said earlier on. Check out the channel, see what I'm about. If you like what I do, again, like this video, appreciate it. Until next time, see you later. Love you all.